I didn't know I was suffering, depression and all the loneliness. I just feel like I was fighting.
You just got on with it.
Yeah, I just got on with it. And then you don't have a place to talk about your problems. I moved to UK when I was 18, almost 20 years ago. Came here to study. Very lonely, kind of like giving up everything, all my family's in there. Those days we don't have, all this social media, mobile phones. I remember I was calling my parents like once a week. I have to use the coins and go into this phone thing for international phone calls. It was very expensive. It was like £3-4. You can only speak to them for only like 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was very lonely because you don't want to tell them like what you suffered. If anything, you're not doing well. You kind of like, you want to prove like, yes, you left it. You coming here to have a new life.
Like it was worth it.
It's worth it. You don't want to tell them if anything bad thing happened to you. You don't want them to worry because there's nothing they can do anyway. You don't really know anyone. It's very difficult to have like, to establish a friendship. And so many of my friends, my Chinese friends, they all study and then they left. I didn't know I was suffering, depression and all the loneliness. I just feel like I was fighting.
You just got on with it.
Yeah, I just got on with it. And then you don't have a place to talk about your problems. And
I guess you're just in survival mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
My mum and my aunt moved here same age as you, 18, to study. And my mum always says I moved here and I didn't know a single person in this, not one single person. And as you say, that's so lonely and terrifying. It's a total step into the unknown. As you say, no social media, no minimal contact. You're really thrown into the deep end.
Yeah.
There's no training ground.
Yeah.
You might say the wrong thing sometimes, and you're really learning as you go. It's very hard as an Asian person to break into Western society, coming here alone, not looking like everyone else, not having the same hobbies, or just really trying to assimilate into Western culture and being kind of integrated is really difficult. And it's still something that a lot of people struggle a lot with today, because people stay in their silos and, there's not a lot of mixing. Everything was a culture shock. Asian culture and Western culture are so different. And even to the point of drinking is such, people make friends here by going out and getting absolutely hammered, and that's not in the Asian culture at all. And so that was a shock. Even things she always says that she put on so much weight when she moved here, because the pasta and the sweets and the bread and the croissant, all the carbs, stuff like that.
I think I'm still trying to fit in up to now, even though I've been living here for 20 years. The drinking culture, especially everyone's going to the pubs, and I started working, everyone going to the pubs, and I don't go to the pubs. And then I don't, because the Chinese, we like going to the restaurants, we eat. That's the different culture. But a lot of things happening in the pubs, the promotions, the gossips, so everything, the company things. So if you don't go, you left out, you miss out, and they might think you don't want to join in, But I tried, just force myself in the pub and force myself watching football. Football is such a huge thing.
Exactly.
I don't even enjoy it. I have to going out, watching football, talk about football. Put myself into the position. I remember my first part-time job. I was 19 years old. I was struggling with English. I watched so many YouTube videos just about job interviews. I know there were so many jobs I can do just because of my English, and then I couldn't tell them, how good I am. I mean, English is if you speak very good English, that means you're well educated. My problem is listening. So I don't understand if they ask me questions, but if I speak, they can understand. So I thought, if I kind of do all the research, if I just go in there, start talking and cover all their questions,
then they won't ask me
questions. So they won't ask me any questions.
Did it work?
Yeah, that's what I did at the end. I remember my first part-time job, I was a cleaner. I was cleaning the pubs, because that's the only job I don't need to speak. But I was happy. I was like, oh my God, finally I can work. I remember every single night I was sleeping, I have to leave the BBC radio on. to listen to the radio to understand the whole thing. Because I remember one of my English teacher used to say, like, if you start dreaming in English, that means you're learning. Yeah.
So how did you actually learn English? From BBC Radio?
From BBC Radio and watching reality TV shows.
What do I say?
And
What do I always say?
And that's
Reality
the TV show, and that's the biggest culture shock for me as well. Because I would never watch reality TV shows.
Do you feel like if there had been someone to talk to, like it would have helped, a listening ear who spoke your language? Do you feel that might have helped you feel less anxious or depressed or lonely?
Oh yeah, 100%. I wish there was someone I can talk to guide me through. I wish I had someone I can talk to about like the doctors, and I was struggling. I remember I was ill and I couldn't explain to the doctors what wrong with me, and then I didn't know what national insurance number is. And everywhere you go, there's like, if you don't have a national insurance number, you can't find a job. But I just wish I had someone to talk to, and someone can just guide me through, you need to do this first. If you're doing this, you should go for this first. Or if you're struggling with your language, there's a translator that can help you through.
I just think it's so important that Hong Kong migrants, people that migrate, people like my mum, my aunt, like you, have access to mental health support, and to feel like they can go somewhere, speak to someone, have access to those services that help them to just feel lighter, to feel heard, and who speak the same language as them, who understand their challenges and the problems that they're facing, and all the shock that comes with immersing yourself in a new culture. It's invaluable, and it's so important that people have access to this sort of help to really feel like they're supported when they move.